Yo, 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 what is going on, people? Welcome back to the Invincible podcast, the greatest podcast in the universe. We're here to talk about the second half of season 2. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and today I'm joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie,
Hello, it's exciting to be back.
Richard Bailey Jr.,
How's it going, everybody?
and of course, our own Invincible, Mr. Carlos Romero.
Yo, 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 what's going on?
All right, man. First up, I want to give a shout out to the fans who've been patient with us. We wanted to do the shows normally, but life stuff happened on my end, so I apologize for that. But thankfully, things are cool now. So now we can talk about that Invincibles, man. Matter of fact, I actually, because all this shit that was happening in my life, I actually didn't watch these shows until last night. So shit is fresh in my mind. So I'll try to, remind you guys on here if you forgot some shit, because it's like a month ago now, basically, But we usually start things off with giving our like general impression before we get into specifics. But I feel that's redundant. So we're covering 4 episodes. Let's just dive right in, man. Like I've got a bunch of talking points here. We're just gonna go through them, and obviously, if I miss anything, you guys will let me know. So let's talk about Mr. Grayson, Mr. Mark Grayson. So obviously, after the events that happened on Thrax, he's trying to, rebuild his life back at home, and it's not working too well. Not only is he trying to balance him being, a superhero and a college student, but he also has brought back his baby brother, which is very interesting, and then obviously, what that entails. And remember, there's a spoiler cast, people. This eventually leads him to breaking up with Amber and all that good stuff. People were cheering about that shit. Here's the thing: even though I didn't get to watch the show, I was obviously watching the discourse on Twitter because I read the books. I didn't care. I was like, damn, man, everybody really hated fucking Amber. That's very interesting. But we will get into that. But let's start with that. What you guys think of Mark's journey this season? And we'll save the Angstrom Levy stuff until a little later on, because that's when it really gets crazy. But Rich, you could start us off. What do you think of Mark's journey of trying to balance his superheroing and regular life?
Well, I very much enjoyed Mark's journey. I like the fact how there were teasers throughout the episodes when they kept telling you that, yes, he is invincible, but he's not like his father, Omni-Man. He can't kill anybody, right? And they played around with that for the entirety of the second half of the season. And then, of course, we saw what happened in the finale. So obviously, when your back is against the wall, you have to respond. You have to do what you have to do. So I like where they brought the character to, but obviously it makes me curious to see what happens now next season, because obviously he's going to be dealing with this trauma for quite some time. So let's see where they go.
Yeah. Dana, what'd you think? Oh, go ahead, Carlos, since you're already talking.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of Rich's point. I do like the way that they settled Mark and Amber's relationship, just because when you think about it, the whole trope of having a relationship between a superhero and a regular person can sometimes be difficult. Superman and Lois, MJ and Spider-Man and stuff like that, and usually those work because the other person is involved in the affairs of the superhero, sort of like they're kind of their own superhero in a way. Like Lois Lane, the way she does her work, and Mary Jane as well. But in this show, it's more of Amber's just a regular person, living her life, figuring out what's going on, got friends and stuff, and in college. And so I like the way that they did a more realistic take in this show than they do in other superhero shows. It's like, yeah, you're not involved with what I do. I'm not really involved with what you do. I'm not really involved with what I'm doing in college, let alone that. So it's more the way that they sort of had a popular term, a conscious uncoupling. I feel like it fit for the show. It's not something, they didn't go with the same tropes that the other shows got. It's like, yeah, Amber's life was put in danger when the Viltrumite came in, and it's like, and it's not gonna be like, oh, Amber's like gonna be like, oh, but I still love you, and she's like, no, hell, my life's in danger, and I barely even get to see you. Like, it's like the the benefits of this relationship are not really serving me as much as to put my life in danger for this. So I really like the way that they handled all of that.
Yeah, Dana Resource. And yeah, obviously, I guess we just gotta just go right into the whole breakup thing, because that's kind of the main thing that happened with Mark's regular life. But yeah, Dana, what'd you think of Mark's journey in this season before Angstrom Levy showed up?
It was really interesting and very realistic, and I think that's what makes the show really good, is the fact that he cannot balance two lives at the same time. It requires way too much attention, and it goes with really anything. Either you focus really much on your career and somehow your marriage and other stuff ends up failing as well. So I thought, again, that was very realistic, and at the very end, when he talked about, him coming to that decision with, hey, I'm gonna drop out of school. That was I understand the mother's approach, because, every parent wants their kid to be successful and get that education, but he's not a normal kid. So because of that, it made the most sense. And I loved how he was putting that in perspective. In terms of Amber and Mark, I never liked Amber from the beginning for him. I think they work wonderful separate. I found her to be extremely annoying. And the thing is that I don't think she was annoying for the sake of being annoying. It was, if we're in a relationship, we should kind of be in a relationship. And everything else he was into, and that just further showed from season 1, he couldn't balance the two. And he really didn't even know that he had these powers, came season 1. So I thought that was just, finally, I took that big round of applause, because I just don't like them together. I don't like her, and I don't even think she likes him at some point. It's like, hey, you're my friend, but I don't really think she likes him. So that was very good. And this one with Mark trying to balance everything, and then the whole baby brother situation. See, there's so many different layers with that, because it's not like, hey, I'm a superhero, but I'm a superhero. My dad tried to kill everybody. Now he's being taken away. Oh, he had a whole side life. Here's my brother. Oh, does he not even care about us anymore? Because remember, and then we're still going with that whole pet conversation from season 1. And then because you have a new wife and a kid, oh, you really thought we were just pets. So there was too many things going on with him internally. So I liked the story arc that they did. Again, they made this very realistic, because that would have been the right approach, or else he would have just mentally snapped, which he did, but later, but it's not because of this.
Yeah, even though I think it was like a culmination of that, but yeah, that's the one thing. And again, I like that in the books too, because that's one of the tropes I can't stand in comics. It's like, oh, I want to have a normal life, but I'm a superhero. What do? I cannot stand that stuff. So I'm really glad it's like, okay, we're ending the Amber stuff. And then even at the end, he was right. He was like, okay, I'm going to go to college. What the fuck am I doing? I'm going to be a dentist. I'm going to be a coder. Like, come on now. There's an alien invasion coming. I can't do this. So I'm glad that just cut that off, be a superhero full time. But obviously we saw hints. Just because you're a superhero doesn't mean you can't have a relationship. You just got to pick the right person, So that's going to be in play later on. But yeah, I like that, the way Mark was going. And it's kind of a progress from the first half of the season, if you remember, because it was all about, I'm just invincible all the time, 24/7. But you can't really do it. It's like you can't do that, but then you can't balance a normal life either. So I thought that was well done as well. Anything else you guys want to say about that? Go ahead, Dana.
This really quickly, the fact that with Eve, because we all knew kind of from the beginning they were better matched, because again, similar lifestyles. But that one thing that really bothered me, in terms of, I don't know where this is going. I know you guys read the comics. I didn't.
I did.
Remember when they came back 20 years later, and she was like, look, dude, tell us something. Yeah. Because you're going to drive me crazy. And remember, he was about to, and then he said, never mind. That really bothered me, because I don't know, one, where that is leading to, and I don't know if he is being selfish or what. But the fact that she came back and said, look, tell me, because you're going to leave me waiting. And that is not something that is fair for either one of us. And he didn't say anything. That bothered me so much because it felt like you went through all of this. You broke up with Amber. You made a decision of who you wanted to be in your life. Like, what are you? You can't do both lives, but then you still left her hanging. That right there, I still hate him for that.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich. But actually, I want to jump in. But don't you think that after everything he went through, like he literally just broke up with Amber like the day before, don't you think maybe that would have been too soon?
No, it wouldn't have been too soon. One,
Why?
because I never felt like there was really that strong of a connection with Amber. So we can be like, hey, I love you, but I don't love you like that. I have to go. I wish you well.
I think Mark feels differently than you feel about it. You know,
I
like he was
think
pretty
Mark
heartbroken
would,
about it. Yeah.
but for me, yes, they cried together because that's an ending of to me, it just felt like an ending of things. But it wasn't necessarily I'm madly in love with you. And so I have to do me right now. Because for me, they never really was that serious connection between the two. In a way, I always felt that Amber was that hindrance. Even when he told her and explained things, she was still kind of like, yeah, but what about me? Where Eve, it was more of that understanding because there's that similarity. Amber still, I feel, had a little bit of that selfishness. It was like, okay, cool, you're a superhero. What about me? Why you didn't take me out? I was busy fighting the alien that was trying to kill everybody. Okay, but we missed dinner reservations. It was always that kind of feeling. So that's why even it was like, hey, I think we're really good friends. Just something. But the fact he left that space blank when he was like, hey, I gotta tell you something. And then he never followed up. That was just ugh. And then she put his head on his shoulder and they were just sitting there. And to me, that just made the whole thing even more confusing and worse.
Yeah, all right, Rich, I think you may have some opinions there.
Well, first and foremost, let me just say this. I know, Tony, you've read the comics, so you know what happens. I obviously think that they're going to answer more of these questions in next season. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I agree 1,000% with what Dana said, because that was the same issue that I had with the way that the season ended. It wasn't so much just that. It's just there are a lot of things where it's a teaser of what's to come. It's not an actual payoff. Like even when you get into the stuff with Omni-Man and the fact that the Martian shows up, there was no, they had their conversation at the end of the episode, but that was it. That didn't lead to anything because Omni-Man is saying, well, no, I'm just going to stay here and die. So I kind of feel like I understand we got to wait till next season, but I wanted to see some type of payoff with something to end off this season. And as for Amber, I do find it funny that there are people that were celebrating this because I was celebrating it, but I felt like the time was up. When like Carlos said earlier, when the Viltrumite showed up and threatened Amber, that's it. There's no that's it. What else can you say? You should break up after that. But the whole idea of him going with Eve, the thing about it is before the season started, they had a origin episode about Eve. So I was wondering, obviously we saw what happened to Eve in this season, her development as a character, but I was wondering if that was going to end the season with, okay, this is who Mark decides he's going to be with. Because the thing is, we already know she is also friends with Amber. So I assume eventually if they do get together, Amber's not going to like that. Either way, she's not going to like it because she was with him before. So if that is the path that it's going to, okay, I understand that. But that was really the only issue I had is it feels as though I understand they're going to save some of this stuff because they have a lot of story to tell throughout several seasons. But yeah, I wanted to see something happen with one resolution done with those two particular storylines. But I'm okay waiting to see where it goes for sure.
Yeah. Carlos, you got any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I disagree with Dana and Rich in terms of the whole Adam. Yes, yes, you Dana, and yes, you Rich.
Yeah, and Carlos, I don't know what you're gonna say, but I probably agree with you. But anyway, go on.
We got it's the balance,
It's a Hispanic solidarity,
we probably handle relationships differently, but then than other folks. But here, the whole thing with Adam, Eve, and Invincible. It's the whole. It's like he just broke up with Amber, and the 20 years older Adam Eve tells him, "It's like, oh, just tell me you love me." It's like, I'm putting myself in Mark's shoes. Well, I'm not gonna tell someone that I love her right after a breakup where we still haven't established that bond. So from what I understood, maybe he did think of telling her because the older Adam Eve sort of influenced him to want to say it. But from what I garnered from this scene is, it's like, oh no, let me put a hold. Let me not tell her that I love her. Let's let this sort of percolate naturally. And that's why he put his head on his shoulder, because he's kind of taking it slow. So I don't have as an issue with that. I feel like he kind of made his choice by being with her in the first place. So I feel like it's going to be an Adam Eve Mark sort of union in seasons to come or episodes to come.
Yeah, before we go on, that's kind of my take on it. Again, even though I read these books, it was a while ago, right? So I'm still kind of watching this slightly as it's new. When I was watching that scene, I'm like, don't do it, motherfucker. Don't do it. Slow your roll. Because Carl's like, yeah, I put myself in Mark's shoes. I wouldn't have said it. I'm like, hold on. This bitch just told me to tell her I love her. Chill. I got all this other stuff I got to deal with right now. Like the last thing he needed was like, hey, I just broke up with this girl I really like. I'm going to jump. Like it just would have seemed very disingenuous. And one thing we liked about the show is like that it's realistic, so I appreciate that. It's like, slow it down. We're cool, but at least Mark knows like, yo, at least she gets it, like she understands, the life, I thought that was all well done, man. Go ahead, Dana, and then we'll go on to the next
question. Then, do you feel that scene was even that line was even needed then?
Which one?
About, hey, the one when older Adam Eve was like, hey, just tell me something.
I can't answer that question for obvious reasons.
No, do you feel like just because you would know whether it plays?
Yeah.
Because to me, if that is the case, then I don't think that line was needed, because then that would always be in the back of my mind. Like, why didn't you say anything?
Yeah, Carlos and Rich, you guys can answer that one.
Could you ask the question again, Dana? I just want to make sure that I answer correctly.
Ask the question in the form of a question.
Okay, so what was that line that Adam Eve said, hey, at least tell me something so I'm not sitting here waiting for you? Was that even needed?
Old Adam Eve saying that.
Yeah. So here's the way I interpret that. It's we just gone through several multi-universes and different parallels going around where different things happen, where Mark is a bad guy, Mark is a good guy. Mark is a bad guy in most of them.
Yeah.
But this is a parallel universe where Adam, Eve, and Mark don't get together for whatever reason, but they had feelings for each other. They just never, I guess, someone didn't have sort of the wherewithal to actually admit it and tell the other person. So this is sort of, I feel like, Adam's Eve way of telling, hey, like I probably understand the way Adam Eve in another universe feels. Let me tell him and sort of get the ball rolling with this and tell him the way I feel right now, because that's how probably Adam Eve in the other world feels about him, but he just doesn't have the courage to tell him. And then Mark never gets the hint probably in that universe. That's just the way I get it.
Yeah. All right. I want to jump onto another thing, because
go
ahead, Rich. Oh yeah, Rich. What do you think of the answer, or what's?
I was going to say real quick to answer Dana's question. I don't think the line was needed, and the reason I say that is because there wasn't really an indication from me that. Now, obviously, this show is a little bit different from some of the other things they're working on. There is an Adam and Eve game that came out a couple of months ago that I actually played. And in that game, you had an option to, you get a chance to know a little bit about Invincible. That's the first time she meets Invincible. But there was never any type of romantic connection between those two characters because she was involved with Rex. And of course, this season, she's no longer involved with Rex. They're just friends now. So I kind of feel like that line does mean something, but obviously at a later point, I guess we will find out. Obviously, Tony is sworn to secrecy. He cannot say anything, so we will have to wait. But I do want to see where things will go. But I do want to say this. Now, if they do eventually get together, I better not see anything about Amber being angry, because I will have something to say about that. Because it's like, come on now, man. That drama. That's something that I would see on a regular show on TV, and I kind of feel like they're going to play around with that. But I can't say because I don't know. But we'll see what happens.
Well, and Rich, it's also important to the context of it all. Mark and Eve knew each other well before they knew Amber, so it's the rule. It's the rule of getting to know each other before. And also, I would like to mention that I did, maybe this was me reading too much into it, but I did kind of feel like there were kind of small little hints of Eve sort of having feelings for Mark in this season before all of this. So that I always kind of felt like that was kind of being sort of trying to hinting towards the audience. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the future seasons with this.
The last comment, I think there's a lot of people, maybe us included, that felt from the very beginning of the start of the show, why isn't Mark just with her? I felt that from the beginning of the show.
Yeah, agreed.
Because they both have powers, they can defend themselves, whatever. So it's kind of weird for him to be with Amber in the first place. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Remember, like I told you guys from the beginning of this podcast, this show loves, or the series loves, taking a trope and then twisting it on its head. Like all the comic book tropes that you've seen, it's like, hey, here's this. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. So never forget that. Whatever you see and you think it's going to go a specific way, it's not. And that's what's fun. But you don't know how it's not going to go. What's up, Dana?
I just wanted to say, I feel the only reason why, also another reason why he was with Amber, because he was like, I don't understand why he was with Amber, was, in a way, Amber represents his human side. And that's why he was with Amber instead of with Adam and Eve. And then now that he is like full going through his, like, I have to separate myself from humans, then, so now I'm just contradicting myself. So then now it would be probably better to wait for a relationship, if there even is a relationship. I don't know. Tony's not telling us, with Amber. I'm not with Adam.
I don't say nothing. All right. Okay. So obviously, I want to get to this part, man. One of the reasons that Amber and Mark decided to break up is because a Viltrumite showed up and threatened Amber's life. Anissa shows up, and because remember at the end of last season, so stupid. The end of the first half of the season, right? Viltrumites were like, yo, your father, we're going to go kill this motherfucker. You better get Earth ready. And they've obviously been keeping tabs. So Anissa shows up and she's like, what are you doing here? And she was like a little bit more, like she was trying to be more diplomatic about things than like you see the other Viltrumites, she's like, it's like, I'm trying to be diplomatic here and stuff. Then, they go off to fight a fucking kaiju. That was pretty fun. Remember, this is still a comic book world, so crazy shit like that will happen. But obviously she saw Mark struggling. She just killed this thing in one shot. And then when Mark said no, she got open on him, fucked his ass up, but it was interesting, Kyle. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the dude's name, the old dude. He was like, yo, just tell this bitch that you're going to say that you're going to take over Earth. Just get her to leave. And Mark's like, it was, he's like, okay, I'm getting the names mixed up. Cecil's the old guy. Who's the Donald? Okay. So Cecil's like, yo, tell this bitch what she wants to hear. Just get her out of here. Nobody, like he even admitted, it's like, if we throw the Guardians at her, she's going to kill everybody. So it's like, Mark eventually did that, but at first he was like, no. And you saw that Cecil, he liked that. Even though Cecil told him, tell her no, when Mark admitted, like, I couldn't do that so easily, you could see Cecil was like, okay, you got my respect, because he can at least see he's not like a punk or whatever. But yeah, what do you guys think about, this whole ongoing thing with Anissa? I will say this, no spoilers, but she is one of the most hated characters in this entire series, and you will find out why. Like, she is hated. You're gonna see why. So yeah, go ahead, Dana.
No, so what you're saying is that baby's gonna die and she's gonna kill him. Yay. All right.
Yes, that's a spoiler. That's exactly what's gonna happen. Anyway, but you will see more of Anissa for sure very interesting character. And again, that's what's fun about the show, right? It's like even side characters are fun. It's like they have something going on, you know.
Well,
But yeah, Carlos, why don't you start us off? Like, what do you think about Anissa?
So correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll ask Richard and Dana this. Was it implied that Anissa had previously, like, I don't know, had something to do with Omni-Man?
No,
Like
I'll answer that straight up. No.
Okay.
Brand new
For some
character.
reason, okay. So for some reason, I felt like she implied that either she was maybe she had a relationship with him or was like a fan, because I know later on they showed Omni-Man talking to that one guy that was holding him in the cell. He's like, "Oh, I used to look up to you." So I felt like
yeah,
so
but
I felt like maybe
Nolan's well known, you know, but yeah, no, it was nothing like that. Dana agrees. It's like, no, she's a brand new character.
Okay.
Sometimes I will just tell you stuff just so it's like, no, don't go down a weird path here.
Gotcha.
Carlos, you weren't mistaking her for that possible Viltrumite that you saw in the books, right? Like, we're going to get to that later, but you know what I'm talking about? There's that scene where it was an obvious analog to Nolan and another woman there. So I don't know if you're, maybe like thinking they were the same. Yeah.
So, or maybe that's where I was making that connection. So, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, okay. So in terms of this character, yeah, I felt like I was kind of surprised why this character was, because she was a Viltrumite, why she was sort of taking it easy on Mark and be like, oh, like patient and all that stuff. So I was like kind of confused there. So that's what that and probably the comics and the novels, I felt like maybe she had a previous connection to Omni-Man or something like that. But yeah, I mean, she's pretty cool, a pretty cool character in the beginning. The way she came in and just put a homegirl Amber in that position. It's like, damn, like, yeah, she's about to like, I felt like, and that's one of the good things about this show. It's like, oh, what if she kills Amber right there? I mean, it could happen.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know. Dana would like that,
So yeah, she was pretty cool, and I'm curious now. Like Tony mentioned, how the fan base feels about her. I'm curious to see what happens with her.
Don't Google her. Just tell you, please, do yourself a favor. Don't Google her.
But you see, that's why I like her. I didn't Google, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Good.
But I feel that her being diplomatic is so much different than what we've seen with the Viltrumite, because they would have just came in there and started killing everyone. So to have that balance, I feel, gives the series less predictability. So that's why I like her, and I strongly do feel that even though there's no relationship between the two of the characters, we did see, because of that guy, Nolan is known and he's kind of admired by some people.
Yeah.
And as a result, I feel that that's why we're not going to just go and kill Mark, because, hey, you are the son of the guy who I do admire. He's lost his way. Maybe you're having feelings, but we're going to get you right on the same track again. So I'm going to come in authoritative.
You could tell,
but I'm not going to kill you.
Yeah. You notice that too. Even the other like Viltrumites in the last half of the season, they could have killed him right there on the spot. It's like, no. We have potential. They see the potential in him, which is cool.
I like how Nolan, they gave him his dignity.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they did. It was like, we want you to be at your full strength before we execute you. It shows you that the Viltrumites, even though they are brutal people, they have a code of honor, and I think that's dope. But yeah, Rich, what are your thoughts on Anissa?
Oh yeah, I like the character. I agree to a lot of what was already said. I will add this though. Our other friend, the alien,
Alan.
Yes,
Alan.
Yeah.
She is no match for Alan.
Oh yeah, my man got swole.
He got a buff.
He was like, wait, what the fuck? We're gonna talk about that too in a bit. That reveal that happened during that. But yeah, she was no match for him for sure. Yeah,
I mean, I'm very curious to see where they take that character. I'm curious to see where they take the character, and if there's any other people that because now you told me she's most hated. Now I am curious to know why she's the most hated character in the comics. So
yeah. I want to throw that at you as a little like surprise, but don't Google it, please.
Oh yeah, no Googling.
Yeah, that's a lesson I learned when I watched Game of Thrones. I started Googling like characters. Oh shit, I just spoiled my goddamn character arc. God damn it. So yeah, that was good stuff. I'm gonna save the Angstrom Levy stuff for later. Let's talk about Nolan's books. Because remember, at the end of the last half of the season, it was like, read my books. That was a reference for the critic, if anybody remembers. And at first, like, yo, why you want me to read your books, bro? And then he started reading them. I was like, hold on, I don't think these are just story. I think this is like a biography or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's like so yeah, it's like we saw one. It was like what's the name of the gun again? But it was the Infinity Ray, right? The Infinity Ray. So that was one story. And then another one was like these like crazy like red monsters and stuff. And they kind of decided like, hey, this is stuff that probably could kill Viltrumites. And Alan shows up, he does a scan or whatever. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, let's go back to Alan. So at the end of was it last season or last time? Whatever. Last time we saw Alan, Thaddeus, the leader of the Coalition of Planets, unplugs him, and we're like, "Oh shit, what the fuck's going on?" And then you come to find out that Alan is like super swole now, and the reason Thaddeus did that is because it was like, okay, we need you to get stronger. The only way you're getting stronger is if you have to fight for your life. You either could have died or you would have been strong. And then he did the big reveal where he takes his fake beard off. And fucking he's a Viltrumite too. It's like, okay, because all the Viltrumites just have a mustache. It was funny in the show. It was funny in the comics too. It's like, okay, like that's not a surprise, but obviously we're back on the boat trying to get the Viltrumites. And then Alan's plan is like, hey, they're selling Nolan to a prison planet. Maybe I should get myself in prison too. So there's a little fight with Anissa. It plays possum. I like that part where she's like bringing him back, and my man just opened up his eye real quick. He smiles and then Alan is fun, man. He's just a fun character.
The levity that he brings into this show is great. I really enjoy every scene that he's in.
Yeah, and I want to say this just about this half of the season, because I felt the entire first season, like the first season, was a little more serious than the comic books. The comic books did a better balance of like funny and serious shit. The first season was like kind of darker than the comics, but I felt this season was like had the balance just right. It's like shit is serious when it needs to be, but also it could be funny when it needs to be. Like, they had that quick scene with the fucking Pharaoh guys. Like, it's like, I will destroy mankind. Wait, you're women. I can't inhabit any of you. I need a man. And it goes like sexist much, So I love stuff like that. It's hilarious. But yeah, Alan the alien, he's back. He's buffer than ever, and he's ready to be on a mission. He even had a little tussle with the Immortal. That was fun too. The Immortal's trying to fuck him up. He's like, dude, I'm just trying to fight Invincible. Relax. He's like fucking douchebag. You guys have that word on this planet? And he asked that twice. Like, you guys have that word? But yeah, what do you guys think about the return of Alan the Alien? Rich, I'll go to you first since you just kept calling him the Alien. Got to put respect on that name, Alan.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you have remembered the name. Normally, I remember names of certain shows, but I couldn't remember his name for some reason.
His one is easy because it's just Alan the Alien. It's like alien,
Yeah.
Anyway,
that makes sense. No, I like the character a lot. I like what they did with him because the last time we saw him when he got his ass whooped, that was a very heartfelt. I felt something after that. You saw his whole relationship he built up, and then to get killed off. And so I was glad to see they brought him back. I'm glad to see that he has a greater purpose. But I do want to say this: excellent casting for him. That's obviously Seth Rogen, right? But Thaddeus. That is an outstanding casting.
Yes.
Because that's Optimus Prime.
Yes, it is.
That is an outstanding casting. So I'm very curious to see what happens with that character, as well as Alan. But yeah, like I said, by the end of the season, he's where Omni-Man is at, and he was talking with Omni-Man, a great conversation. It makes me curious to see where things go from here, because his whole purpose, I think, was to save Omni-Man so they can, fight back. But I want to see where they're going with that storyline.
Yeah, I like that scene. It's like, when he crosses paths with Omni-Man, Omni-Man's like, hey, what are you doing here? It's like, I'm here for you. That was fun, man. Yeah, Dana, are you happy that Alan the Alien is back, stronger than ever?
I'm happy that he's stronger than ever. He makes me happy just watching him. Like everything, like his interactions with everything is like, I'm just, he's here to serve his mission. He's happy to be alive again. And so even that interaction, he's like, I'm going to die. Let me die. And he's like, nope, we're going to save you anyway. And I kept waiting for that to happen. It was like such an upbeat to like Nolan was sitting there depressed, accepting death. And the guys is like, happily just, you're going to be fine. We're going to get you out.
Yeah, because Nolan was definitely feeling some type of way. I'll get to that in a bit, but yeah, that even when he woke up, he's like, "Oh man, I just broke this machine. This looks expensive." Like, like he was like, "Are they going to dock my pay?" That was kind of fun. But yeah, Carlos, I agree with you. It's like every time that dude's on screen, you're going to get some good. That's a good character right there.
Yeah, he like you mentioned, he brings the comedic factor into a show that doesn't have is really, really serious. So I really appreciate it every time he shows up, and I like the arc that he's gone through. I mean, the fight, showing him, his little arc at the first part of the season, and then getting messed up, and now coming back. Yeah, I'm curious to see where this goes. Also, I like the trope where, because you're like, oh, he's going into this prison and stuff, and then I remember it's like, oh, this dude can talk to people telepathically. So he's like, I was like, oh, this makes perfect sense. He's in the right spot. So yeah, I can't wait to see what happens. Yeah, and by the way, you can sometimes voice actors do like they sound different. Seth Rogen is Seth Rogen, man.
He can't help it. He can't help it. He's always Seth Rogen. He's always Seth Rogen.
He's like Keanu Reeves in real life acting.
Yeah, and I could name a bunch of guys. Al Pacino, he's like that too. It's like, it's just Al Pacino. It's Anthony Hopkins. It's Christopher Walken. Remember what I said in the Dune podcast? That was the only thing that threw me off. I'm like, every time he's on screen, it's like, oh, it's Christopher Walken. But you could check out that episode. Anyway, so yeah, Alan the Alien is fun. He's like a Saiyajin, or Saiyan, as Americans would say it. It's like you can't kill him; he'll just get stronger. But I do want to talk about Nolan because obviously not a lot with him, but you saw the progression. He wants to face punishment for his sins. And he's struggling. Like he's like, I shouldn't feel this way because I'm a Viltrumite. I shouldn't have these goddamn feelings. But he feels like, okay, I've done all these horrible things. I need to pay for my crimes. And then at the end, because you guys remember what he said about his wife. And at the end of the first season, he's like, oh, you're just a pet. But then this one, he's like, I think I miss my wife. Well, so there's something there,
Well, here's the thing, Tony. Which wife?
Yeah, probably the human one. Because remember the bug wife was like, he already knew this wasn't going to last long.
It's a bug's wife.
Yeah, it's a bug's wife. Yeah.
Okay, Rich.
And I don't think did he marry that bug by any chance? Maybe they had some bug ritual. Who knows? Just thinking about it now. Go ahead, Rich.
But here's a question. I did catch that line at the end. It does mean something. But my question is, if he was to finally reunite with his wife and he sees what happened to his wife, the fact that she was injured in this attack by somebody else we're going to talk about here in a little while, how is that going to make him feel about the world? Is he going to want some revenge, even though Mark has already killed this guy? That is something I thought about as soon as he said that, because obviously, he's not going to be happy to see her in that state, but I want to see how he's going to feel if that reunion happens.
It's a good question. Dana, any thoughts on Nolan's little arc?
At first I thought, oh Lord, this is corny. And then I realized they've been playing this off since the kind of the finale on season 1.
Yeah.
Because there were some moments of hesitation. And so to see is that very slow progression instead of it being sudden. By him being away and no longer having to be the routine of let me play a human husband and have human emotions and feelings, it's really started to embed in him, and he's missing that. And I thought that was really authentic. But it's really interesting if you pair it with how Mark is feeling right now and his huge change at the end. Even though he regrets what he did, he kept saying, oh, all this time I've been holding back. I'm not holding back anymore. And that's what he literally like bashed the dude's head in. So it's interesting to see maybe the two characters maybe switched a little bit. We're seeing this more sympathetic Nolan. We're seeing the regrets. We're seeing him missing his wife, his human, lifestyle and everything. And I think it's really interesting going back with the books. Yes, his intention was, that's always to prepare Mark, but by going through this and knowing that if he was to turn his back on the Viltrumites, he would have to be able to teach his son things that he wouldn't be there for. So I was starting to wonder if that feeling for humans and kind of liking his family was something that was starting to percolate way before season 1.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that's why I really love this show, because they sprinkle these little things that just shows you this is not a sudden change. This has been a very slow progression that has happened years. We've just never, it's not been on camera. So I really, really liked how they did that. And I liked how, even when he said, I think I miss my wife, I gasped a little bit. Of course, I was like, wait, which one? But we obviously knew which one, because he's been with that one for so long. So it would be interesting, to see him come back and answer your question, Richard, about whether or not, what would he think of the world that attacked once he saw his wife, what happened to her arm. He always knew how the world was, I believe, because that was kind of the basics for the Viltrumite. We have to lead everyone because clearly they don't know how to lead themselves. That and a little bit of selfishness with that as well. I think that he would go from, being Earth's protector as opposed to someone who is gonna infiltrate to destroy Earth. So I can see him coming into his full superhero, I am protecting this planet way. So that is, I don't think he's gonna have anything, negative about the world, and he's gonna snap off and start killing other worlds. I just think that he's gonna start being a better protector, and it's going to be genuine this time. So, yeah.
But Dana, to that point, would the world accept him?
Absolutely not. No. Because, and then that goes to whether he'll be on the outcast, because then the only thing that he can do is probably be an outcast. The world is not going to accept him because we saw that final battle in season 1. We have the other Viltrumites coming in. There's only one neighbor who seems to miss that whole action. But other people kind of know what's going on. So he's not going to be accepted. And I don't know if you can prove yourself to the entire planet that, hey, I'm on your side again. Because you tricked us the first time and it was so disgusting. And you killed half of a quarter of, that town, that city that they were in. Maybe all of the city, maybe like 10% lived. But the point is I don't think he would be accepted. And then that goes into an even more complicated thing, because then where do you live? Debbie's not gonna be like, okay, let's just go live on another planet at all. So I think that while he may want to be a protector or Earth protector, it's not going to work. I honestly see that death might just be the best solution for him in the end, and I kind of understand why he's accepted that and wants to die. But clearly, Alan is not going to let that happen. I just don't know, where does he go from here? You do, but I don't.
Yeah, I'm not saying nothing. Very interesting takes there. Go ahead, Carlos.
Just real quick, these are great points, and I just want to add to something more in the speculation realm. I wonder, more of a question than a speculation. I wonder what this, because what Nolan has is a defect. What if you're a Viltrumite, you consider it a defect. Even Nolan probably considers that a defect, the way that he's feeling about his wife. So I'm curious to find out if this is ever established later on, or maybe there hasn't been. But if this is just a defect within the Viltrumites, or if this is just humans, the influence of humans on Viltrumites. Because I was always curious to see, like, if it's the reason, if the reason why Nolan is the way he is because he married a human, or is it because there's something wrong with the Viltrumites, or maybe there's something just wrong with Nolan from a Viltrumite sense. But yeah, that's just a question I was thinking about.
Go ahead, Dana.
Oh, because I'm trying to think of Anessa, because the fact she was more diplomatic and she didn't go in and killing everyone. Would that be viewed as effective as well?
Well, because but she's still not deviating from the I guess the plan or the objective here for the Viltrumites. I mean, if she deviates from that, then you'll probably be right. But at the time being, I guess she's still technically Viltrumite through and through.
See, here's my issue with this is the fact that the Viltrumite has only interacted with other planets when it came time for them to kill them. From my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, they never had to fully infiltrate into that society, marry off, and then kill everyone and make them slaves. So is it because this mission is so unique that they view it as being defective? Or is that how they run all planets? Tony?
You're talking about Earth specifically?
I'll just say, what we've seen of the show, Nolan's the only one that has done this. The other Viltrumites just go in there and just conquer shit. From what the show has shown, he's the only one that's lived on these planets. So, to your question, you could ask if other Viltrumites did the same thing Nolan did, would they be changed?
Right.
And
we've
again,
never seen that before.
Yeah. So like Rich's, I think it was Dana's your point. Is it nature or is it nurture? We don't know yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, very interesting.
We don't
stuff,
know even if they're defective. They may not even be defective.
May not be defective. It's just they, if you're raised different, or live differently, you experience different things. You may see this, you're still a being that thinks, so yeah, something to think about. Again, this is why this show is so fucking awesome, okay, so there's that point. We kind of hit all the major stuff here, but there's obviously a lot of little things that happen, other little subplots that happened. We're gonna get to Armstrong and Levy. We will absolutely get to that because I want to end on a bang like this fucking season did. Actually, but I do want to say something. Did you guys catch that line that Anissa said at the end? She goes, "I'm being diplomatic. The next guy that's coming, not so much." So I'm just gonna say, put a pin on that shit.
Uh-oh.
That's all I'm gonna say about that. Put a pin on that. She didn't just throw that line out there to scare him.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, Carlos, yes, she is diplomatic, but she's still on mission, so she's not deviating. You could still do the same thing, but just different ways. Right. But yeah, just I want you guys to keep that in mind. She said the next guy ain't like me. Oh man, crazy. All right. Okay, so let's talk about some of the subplots that happened throughout the show. We got to talk about Mr. Donald finding out he's a robot. And as a matter of fact, it's like the only thing they were able to save was his brain. It even showed him like the robot skeleton of what he actually looks like underneath. And it seems that Rick, he was one of the Reanimen. Like they did the same thing to him. And obviously I like the way they juxtapose that. It's like Donald's trying to deal with like, oh shit, like I just died 50 million times, and then you have Rick, he's still trying to integrate with college life and stuff, but he's still getting flashes. And even Donald was like, that trauma doesn't go away, So I like how at the end he kind of talks him off the ledge, like, because remember he's like, oh, you don't know what I feel like. Yeah, I do, bitch. Look at this chest, So that was a really good scene, and it kind of shows that yes, Donald has died many times, but every single time he's died, it has always been for a good reason. He's made the world a little better. And what was cool about that scene was he made the world a little better and he didn't have to die doing it. He helped somebody not kill themselves. That was a really good scene, that very, very powerful stuff there, So what do you guys think about that little subplot with Donald and Rick? Because I kind of felt they kind of paralleled each other.
Yeah, I like the way that this little subplot went through. I was just wondering, is Donald gonna turn heel or something because of this?
Oh man!
But it's great that he hasn't at least yet. And yeah, I like the scene where Cecil, I like the scenes where Cecil has to like he's like okay, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna show you all the video clips of you dying every single time.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. Yeah, I like the way they integrated that to this show.
Yeah. And I like that scene where, Donald was like mad. He's like, why you keep doing this? It's like, I'm only doing what was requested of me. Obviously, it was, probably an older version of Donald was like, keep bringing me back, So that's kind of cool. Again, what I like about Cecil is like, he's this cold dude, but he also has humanity too, Like, like obviously, we are gonna talk about Debbie and Oliver. I find that very interesting. But it's like, yes, he obviously wants to keep tabs on her, keep tabs on the alien, but you can still tell he cares too. He wants to just make sure everything's right with her, even if it's to suit his own ends.
Right.
Okay, so that was the one of the big things that happened. Obviously, we had the big secret invasion. We found out about the shapeshifter. He was a secret. I like that one part. It's like, wait, y'all motherfuckers all knew he was a Martian. You didn't tell me. That was pretty hilarious, And that was also the episode where Eve came back to the fold. Remember, she was like on a little sabbatical, trying to figure out what kind of superhero she wants to be. Then she was just hanging out with her parents, wasting her life away. And then she got back in it. And once she got back into it, she really got back into it. And we had a nice little scene with her and Rex not being as much of an asshole. And this is before he got his brains blown out, because that kind of changed his character there too, Oh, man. Go ahead, Rich. What do you think about that whole scene?
Let me just make a comment. That whole episode where that to me felt like that was the outstanding episode because it felt like any character could go. You obviously saw what was happening when they decided to go off planet to deal with the Martian incident. Then the rest of the team, led by Rex, they also got their asses whooped. And, some of them, they made you believe that they all died, that some of them perished. Obviously, that was not the case for all of them, but it felt like the stakes were high. And that's one thing I like about the show. It's like it doesn't shy away with killing people that they need to get rid of when it feels right to the storyline. And people definitely get their asses whooped on a continual basis on this show. Even Invincible gets his ass whooped. So I that's what I enjoy about the show. Makes it feel realistic when I see that type of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I like that episode too with the whole sequin fight. They were on the Martian ship and all that. That was dope. And I like that scene. It's like there's like like they shot the missiles like Ray Shields, like this is a shuttle. Shields. So that was pretty fun. If the whole thing with the sequins, we'll see what happens with that. Sneaky little buggers there. But that was cool. Then obviously, the Guardians, we saw them. Their Guardians are interesting to me because it's like they always seem like they're on the brink of falling apart, but they always somehow win in the end. Like even when Rex got the team killed, they still thwarted the threat. They still stopped the terrorists, the Lizard League, Yeah,
I was going to say that was excellent character development for Rex. Because from the time this show started, they made him look like he's a bit of a silly guy, like a wise ass. And, he has jokes, but he always shows up. But even in this particular situation, when it looked like the entire team was finished, he still was able to take out, what is it? Is it King Cobra?
King Cobra, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know Lizard, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he started out as a kid because in that Adam Eve prequel, they showed him as a kid and his mom was when they did an invasion. So yeah, I was glad to see it. He needed to get his ass whooped. So I was glad to see him get taken out. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that was a good because it's like, oh damn, man, Rex, you got the whole team killed, bro. And then I just find it funny. It's like, are you trying to say that Rex is so dumb he only needs half a brain or something? But you saw him kind of changing too after that. So that was good. Again, back to the Guardians on the brink, and then you had the little still the subplot of Robot. Are they still calling him Robot? I keep calling him Robot. Like him trying to be human, trying to help Monster Girl and all that. Figuring out it's like, bro, she's not broken, she's just cursed. Pull it back, and I'm glad he kind of figured out. It's like, okay, we'll try to fix this problem, but I want to just enjoy you as a person, not just as a thing to fix. So that was pretty dope, you know. Yeah, and we got to talk about Immortal real quick. You know, my man was going through it. My man was going through it. You know, he loved them some Duplicate, and again, the characters in this show, man, it's like this motherfucker's been around for thousands of years, and he's like, yeah, it's like I lost a bunch of women, but this one hurt, you know, the most. I like that, and then he kind of became like a recluse and stuff. He didn't want to go on vacation, and then obviously we saw Duplicate was alive, you know, because I was fucked up the way that like she died. It's like, damn, man, switching up together, you know.
So, a quick question: what was the name of that villain that was whooping everybody? Is it Coda or something?
Who that big lizard dude?
Yeah.
He has a name. I don't know. Yeah,
that's a badass villain. You know.
Yeah,
he got his at the end too.
Oh yeah, he got his. That was a brutal way of dying. It's like it was a shrink ray. Like she just got bigger inside of him and stuff.
Yeah,
you know, that was cool. Yeah, brutal, man. So that was cool. And then let's talk about Debbie and Oliver, because now she's taking care of her former husband's kid that's from another wife. Very interesting. And you know, to me, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because she was very accepting of little Oliver. She named him and everything, you know. So Dane, I see you shaking your head, so I'm pretty sure you may have a thought or two about this.
Okay, so the thing with Oliver, it's very complicated because that is a child who is innocent. The child didn't ask to be born, who didn't ask who the parents were. The child exists. So I can understand wanting to protect that child. Hey, we're going to go through it. Your dad sucks. I was with him. He sucks. Your mama was with him. He sucks. He sucks. So I understand not wanting to take out any anger on the child. That I get. But could it be me? Probably not. I don't wish any harm upon the child, but I am not raising this man's child after everything that he put me through. And then now I have to go deal with your side wife, your side hoe, a bug. It's too much for me. And my own kid is going through it. I'm going through it. My arm is now gone because can we talk about that scene really quick where I thought that dude was literally going to take the child because he had him upside down by the leg. I thought he was going to beat Debbie to death with the baby.
I mean, with this show, you never know, right?
With this show, you don't know. So I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing, but terrible, but amazing. But would I do it again? No. I understand Debbie not wanting to have any harm with this child. And in a way, that makes her even a better person. You know, she does not accept what her husband did. It is not accepting of anything with Nolan. But that is that motherly instinct that she has that is within her. And I appreciate that. Plus, from my understanding, I don't think the kid was going to live long because of the way that the species is, unless he's half Viltrumite. So we don't know how the growth span goes, right? Because remember they said something, like the mom said something about their biology is different.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're right. She said he grows faster than a human, but slower than a Thraxan. So by the time he would learn, she said, by the time he would speak his first sentence, everybody that he knows will be dead, you know? Because he grows faster than a normal human, but he grows faster than a human, but slower than a Thraxan, you know, the bugs. So it is different. And again, I think I asked this last time, and I think I just gave you answer because I don't know if the show addresses. I'm assuming it has. Basically, if a Viltrumite mates with another species, the Viltrumite DNA takes over eventually. Like basically, by the time Mark is like older, he's going to be 100% Viltrumite. So the same thing is going to happen with Oliver. Yes, he's a bug now. He's Thraxan, but as he keeps getting older, he will just be full on Viltrumite. You know, and then he'll live for hundreds of years like the rest of the species. You know, but right now, as you're seeing him, he is getting older faster. But that's going to slow down, obviously, as more of his Viltrumite DNA takes over.
So Debbie's going to be raising a baby, like literally until she dies.
No, he's going to grow. He's going to grow faster than that. Like you already see, he's walking, he's talking. Okay. You know, like he went from a little, like not talking to speaking words. So you see the progression. So It's gonna be faster than that. But to your point, Dana, to prove just how motherly Debbie is, she is chewing this kid's food. You know, that like that's not something like any woman would just do just randomly. She cares about the kid. You know, like at first she was like heads on, like, I don't want to take care of this kid. It's like, fine, I'll do it for a couple of days. But then obviously she grew attached, and the kid likes her too. So it's already calling her mom. She's not upset about that. She's fine, you know. And it's very interesting stuff. Go ahead, Carlos.
I feel like the whole thing with this is, you know, Debbie's been going through an arc of identity and you know, depression and all that stuff after the whole Nolan thing. And deep down, she's still in love with Nolan.
Yep.
And this whole thing with the kid, it's like it's giving her purpose, and it's also giving her that connection with Nolan that she doesn't want to cut off.
That's right.
So I feel like that's the whole thing with Debbie and Oliver.
Yeah, and you guys noticed like her progression from the first half of the season till now. She was all broken mess beginning of the season. Now she even said, I feel like I'm back in my groove. You know, it's like, you know, she has her house back. She has a baby that she actually really likes to take care of. Everything's going well with her job. So yeah, very interesting character.
Got her arm broken.
Got her arm broken, but you know, everything's gonna be good. It's Invincible world, you know.
It's a scratch.
It's a scratch, yeah. But yeah, the whole thing with Oliver, very, and she named him after, what was it, the grandfather, right? Or her father, something like that. Because she was like, I can't just call him Nolan's, babies, Nolan's bug baby or whatever. I thought that was pretty funny.
Purple Nolan.
Yeah, Purple Nolan. You know, yeah, I like Oliver, man. You know, he's got character. You know, even though it's like, yo, change that baby's clothes. He's been wearing the same clothes the whole time. You know. And by the way, there's certain scenes where it's like remember after the house got torn up and stuff, like you see that the babysitter come out with, like, you know, she's carrying Oliver in the middle of the street. I'm like, no one's noticing the purple baby. Like no one's noticing the purple baby. Fuck the destroyed house. Look at the purple baby. You know. Or maybe people are just so used to it in that world. It's like, oh yeah, super kid, whatever. It's probably that. It's probably they're just so used to superheroes, you know. And what do you guys think about that whole thing where like Donald was like trying to get like somebody infiltrating the house and stuff, and then Homegirl shows like, yeah, Donald sent me, but trust me, you need me. I like the way she just came out and said it, you know. So yeah, what'd you think of that part, Carlos?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, it was funny when she came in. She's vetting the guy, and who knows? It could have been a guy, a legit person, or all of the candidates could have just been, hand delivered by Donald and Cecil. But but yeah, and we talked about this whole thing where, Debbie could have taken care of the kid. I mean, she knows that the Cecil and then want the kid to raise on their own, so she had like. It's not like there was any any doubt that the kid would be raised semi decently.
Yeah.
So it just leads to more of like her wanting to keep that connection with Nolan. But yeah, the candidates were funny, and the lady, she shows up all the time. She showed up on the last episode.
Yep. Yeah, so she's on it, and I like the way she was introduced too. It's like, Oliver, he grabs a pair of scissors, and instead of just like taking it from him, like, no, she takes them, gives him something else, and even from the jump, he looked at her, he's like, he liked her. So like, that was a good catch. And yeah, it seems like she kind of she leaves whenever Debbie comes home. So give him time and stuff. But obviously if an emergency happens, she'll show up like she did during the last episode. So yeah, that was good stuff. But yeah, let's get into it, man. Angstrom Levy. Oh, what's up, Rich? You want to say something? Because I got to talk about Angstrom Levy real quick.
Oh, that was Dana.
No.
I think was.
Yeah. Oh no, we definitely need to talk about him. I just want to say, yeah, I look forward to seeing what happens with Debbie and Oliver. They're just building the bond right now. But so many questions to see what happens next season about that.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole season was setting up Angstrom Levy. We saw what happened. And he came back to get his revenge. And it was that was a brutal episode, because not only just for what Mark was going through, but what Angstrom was doing to the family. And then you saw his insanity, what was going on there. Like there was that scene where he was like seeing multiple lives that he led through other dimensions, and how Invincible fucked it up because he was like, hey man, you tried to save me. You did this to yourself because you tried to save me. And, he couldn't register that, and that was also just a sequence for the showrunner should just go ham with all those different worlds. Like he ran into a Spider-Man world. That was pretty funny, Prof Ock or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are two on the nose with those alternate worlds.
And there was like 2 instances just in these 4 episodes where Mark ends up in like a Walking Dead world. It's like, okay, Robert Kirk, we get it,
Rich got excited. He
was
like,
we saw that.
Oh no,
favorite show.
I do not want to talk about that show anymore, especially after Carlos's The Ones Who Live. That's his show.
Oh man,
so I'm good on that.
Yeah, but look at that.
I will say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did like he also went to a Batman universe, and
yes,
I like how they were very sly, not to show Batman, but they mentioned bats, so that was awesome.
Yeah, he was like, hold on. So you're a man, you dress like a bat, and your name is I don't know. That's not very original. That was pretty fun. Then he ended up in a world with like talking dinosaurs. Another one who was getting fucked up by cavemen. Like there was a lot of crazy shit going on there.
There's one where he's in a campfire talking to people.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what is this? That was weird, But obviously that was all that was to soften him up, because Angstrom was also kind of strong, but obviously, as we'll talk about a little, not as strong as Invincible thought,
Not so much.
And I'll say this because again, this show doesn't really change a lot from the comics, but they did change one thing, and I think it was better because in the comics, when Angstrom calls up Mark, right? Debbie's already fucked up. Like her face is already jacked up.
Oh.
So when I saw this episode, I'm like, oh, they didn't do that. I'm like, that's kind of weird. The show's holding back. And then obviously you were seeing all these other people get murdered. Like, why would they not do it at Debbie? But then we saw they added like a more scene, even though she did this in the books too, where she's fighting back and he was fucking her up the whole time, So by the end, she looked the way she did in the comics, all jacked up. Although I don't remember the broken arm. That's the only thing. I'm like, damn, okay. The show loves breaking limbs. And I also noticed that they have a tendency. It's like it's always the right eye that gets fucked up. You notice that? like Mark and Debbie both had the right eye fucked up. But yeah, Angstrom, and then at the end, obviously they go to like that desolate world, and Mark's like, okay, this guy's as strong as me. I'm going in. No, he wasn't that strong. He wasn't that strong. So
I got a question. And maybe this is a plot hole, maybe this isn't, maybe this is a controversial question, maybe it's not.
Yeah, Rich, I want to hear about that controversy you brought up earlier, talk about that.
So from my understanding, Cecil has this family monitor 24/7.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why Cecil and company did not get a hold of them quicker, Yeah,
it's a good question.
Because they got a monitor the whole time, and then Angstrom calls Mark and tells him about everything, and then once Mark gets there, that's when he cut off the communications. He's like, "Oh, like I just disabled the communications." Like, "Oh, well, you would have heard the conversation with Mark for him to get there." But I feel like that's a plot hole unless they actually said something somewhere.
I think that's a plot hole. I think that's because the thing is because he disabled. Dana, I'll let you go. Go ahead, Dana, since you're like nodding. Go ahead.
Finish your thought. Go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say because it's like he disabled Mark's communication, but did he disable the communication in the house beforehand? But at the same time, he made the phone call, so that phone call would have been monitored. Right. So I think it may be a plot hole, but Dana, if you have any other thoughts about that, go ahead.
I feel that Cecil is the kind of person who interject when he needs to. I think the overall thing, he was praying in the corner that it worked, was the fact that he was waiting for Mark to become the person within his full powers. And I feel that this threat was something that was going to happen. And yes, the baby could have died, Debbie could have died, but in that way, he would have become the full superhero or full superpowered person that he needed him to be. So that's why I feel Cecil wasn't running right away. This was in season 1. This wasn't like, this is a weak kid. He knew what was going on, and he needed him to be at his top and his best, because remember, if everything is being monitored, then we have that whole situation. Remember when the girl said, Nessa said, you're not going to like who's coming next.
Yeah.
You need Mark to be at full strength with whomever it is that's coming next. So why interfere? And I think just as a character development, Mark does not need someone to interfere anymore. He needs to be able to solve and do things on his own. Whether or not he ends up beating someone to death, fine. But he needs that character growth. And for him to reach that point of which we had him at the end is something that has to happen in order for both the story, but the character to fully blossom into whatever ends up happening at the end of the comic series. That's just my opinion.
That's a good theory. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's a good theory. I like that a lot, actually. And Dana, to your point, you saw at the end, Mark was pushing himself harder. Like he was trying to like break the speed or whatever.
Barrier.
Yeah, because he's like, I got to get stronger. And that's also why he left college. He's like, I can't be wasting time on this shit. I got to get strong,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, yeah, I like that. That's a really good theory.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good theory. The only way it would not make sense is if Cecil sees Mark getting to this point as being turning more like Nolan, then in the end it would be more detrimental to the world.
Yeah, I do. I see what you're saying, but I think, remember that scene where Nolan approved of the fact that Mark didn't just give in right away. Like I think I don't think he fears Mark will turn now, but that's just a theory there, but I don't, just based on what you saw there,
Yeah. Cool.
There's a question that I would like to ask, and this is where
we better not wait another fucking 2 years for season 3, man. That's all I'm saying. I'll be very upset.
I hope it's not. I hope it's not 2 years. I have to ask this question. Although I don't think that you will be able to answer this question, Tony, because
I'll see what happens.
I want to ask this question. I after seeing, what they did with Levy as a character, you got a chance you got to see his backstory. You understood why he hated Invincible, all the death, destruction that was caused with his family, his wife, his kid. I want to ask you the question though. Is this character really dead? Because
I can't answer that.
Okay, yeah. The reason why I say this is because clearly this guy was obsessed with Invincible. We didn't see him for most of the season. You saw him in glimpses at the end of the last episode when they had the after credit scene. Then you saw he was going to make a return, and then in the previous episode you see at the end he shows up. So it made sense from a pacing standpoint why he was in the majority of this episode. And then you saw the ability he had with going to these different dimensions. I just kind of feel like the character probably has a backup plan. So I wouldn't say, I don't think the character is dead for good, but obviously, we have to see what happens. But that is something that came to mind when I saw it, because after you see him beating the guy down, all right, okay, yeah, but I didn't see anything else about them acknowledging that, yes, you did take him out, but I don't know. I just have a feeling this character isn't dead. And I also say that because the actor who plays him is a very good actor. That's one of Dana's favorites. This is us. So we'll see.
Here's the weird thing about that.
Stupid question. Is it Phil Lamar by any chance?
No, Sterling K. Brown.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
Sterling K. I don't know how to explain it, but Sterling K. Brown's voice for me was too distracting. That's all I just heard him. So for me, it was like, you're taking me out the scene.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't know who this person is then. Yeah, I want to say this though, because again, you know me, I don't like to spoil stuff, but I also like kind of leading you in not the right direction, but because you guys are right. I'm going to tie two things together. Rich, you just said you don't know if Angstrom Levy's dead, right? Dana, you just said Cecil's always up to something. Remember what happened with D.A. Sinclair? I'm going to just leave it like that. I'm going to leave it at that. Invincible for life, man. All right, so I think that's pretty much. Do you guys anything else you guys want to go over? Because this is the part was like I'm going to open it up. Whatever else, other things that happened, let's throw them in here.
Yes, I do want to mention on probably the most important note of this whole season.
Yeah,
is the whole big pressure, the whole thing with Mark actually killing someone.
Yeah.
And I will mention
like intentionally. Like, okay,
Yes.
here's the thing. It was intentional, but not intentional because remember, Mark said, I thought he was stronger. And that was a really good scene where he's like, wait, I thought you were strong. He thought like he was fighting like a Viltrumite or something, somebody could hang, But at the same time, Mark said it, I wanted to kill this motherfucker. So he wanted to do it, Anyway, go on, Carlos. Just wanted to throw that in there.
So I do want to mention, and Tony, this is a part where you're gonna get mad at me.
Uh-oh.
The whole DC trope, and a lot of other comic book superheroes. It's like the whole standard. I can't kill someone, and I'm like, I can't. Usually, I can't take that seriously, especially Mark in the world that he's from. It's like he's known nothing but killing since he's been in the superhero business. And the fact that his mom was almost torn to shreds, and the biggest emotion out of him is feeling bad for killing the dude who did that. I'm like, get the fuck over yourself.
Oh shit. Go ahead, Dana.
See, this is what I believe that his thing of I'm not going to kill anyone reminds him too much of his father, because we know his father is the complete opposite of that. And I think that he is afraid of becoming his father, which is why he had that internal battle after he killed the dude, because it's like, oh, am I now one step closer to being him?
Yeah.
So that's why I believe that was the rule. It wasn't like, oh, this is a superhero thing like Batman. It was literally him being afraid of who and what he can become. So that was to address that one point. And you saw him constantly, and this is also to go with the human side of him as well. Remember, it was like, oh, he didn't want to kill him because one, he was afraid, but also I feel there was so much anger and frustration going on from season 1 to now to everything, because he kept saying, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I've been through. He was finally, I feel, in a way, standing up for himself and also taking out all of that frustration of what he went through, because people can still, he was being written off in a way. And by him standing up and finally proving himself, and yes, he beat the guy to death. It wasn't like some other way that he killed him. It was him literally knowing what he was doing, beating that guy to death. That is a very, what do you call that? Personal way to kill someone, is to beat them to death. All that anger, that frustration. So for me, I felt that it was an internal battle, and for him trying to prove himself. That's why that whole murderization was so impactful for me. I don't know how anyone else feels.
Yeah, no, just to your point, Carlos, it's not the typical hero thing. Like, this is my code of honor. I will not kill. For Mark, it's really like, I don't want to kill because I don't want to be like my dad. So that's where he's coming at it from,
Yeah, but isn't I mean, for example, like Batman is like, I don't want to kill because I don't want to be the person that killed my dad.
Yeah, like because he's like trauma, like it's that trauma that he's had for years. Like, obviously, Mark's thing has only been like 6 months or so it's a little different. Like that whole murder shaped Batman into what he become. With Mark, it's more like, oh, that's something I don't want to do.
Yeah, it's not a trauma. Yeah. I don't view it as trauma.
Yeah, it's not. It's just like, I don't want to do that. It's like, regular person's like, you see your dad drinking all the time and he's all a fucking mess. You're like, I don't want to do that, but then, you had to get drunk. And you're like, fuck,
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I will just say that it's not like it's like, I don't want to be my dad, so I'm not going to drink, but you smoke, you do the same job that he does. You do everything else like your dad.
But that's what makes it interesting, isn't it? You know, you don't want to be like your dad, but you're doing exactly what your dad's doing. And even he admitted, it's like, shit, I'm pushing everybody away just like dad did, you know?
Yeah. I'm reading his books.
Yeah. So it's like, it's again, that's what's fun about this story. You know, it's like, you know, the juxtaposition. It's not just black and white. It's like, I don't want to be like my dad, but you're literally being your dad, you know, or at least he's being the version of his dad that he thought was real, you know? That's what he wants to be. He doesn't want to be he wants to be the fake version of his dad, not the real version of his dad, you know? So it's a very interesting, you know, like rich thing there. But yeah, I want to go over whatever little things we like about it. I just want to bring this up. It's a complete aside, but I love that the show did a version of this. In the comic book, when they went into the convention, right? The comic book convention, there's a scene there where Mark's like, man, you guys are so talented. Like, you could just draw so much on one page. And in the comic, the guy's like, not really. I just kind of copy the same shit and just put it all on one panel. So the page was literally Mark asking a question. The guy, it was Brian Michael Bendis, by it was clearly him. The guy going, we just draw the same shit over again. And it's literally just the same panels of the character. I mean, the same panels of Mark, the same panels of the artist. And Mark's like, isn't I lazy? And then 4 panels of nothing. And then at the end, yeah, kind of. But so they did a version of that. It's like, oh yeah, we just kind of cheap out on the animation. Sometimes we do a shot from the back, sometimes we do like an overhead shot. So I love that they did the same gag, but for the medium, you know, that was pretty funny.
That was awesome. Very, very self-aware, fourth wall type of interaction. And even when he was talking with the character, they didn't show the character. They didn't show him talking. You just hear the voice, and he says, "Oh yeah, we just take the camera off screen. The character is talking." I also did enjoy that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun. What other little things did you like from these episodes? Random things that stood out.
Well, I do want to make a comment. This might be considered a little controversial.
Here we go.
I have to say it. Now, I am aware that there is currently another show on TV, right? Another superhero animated show that's on TV, right? I will tell you right now, I have not seen this show yet, but I do want to say this. The reason why I like Invincible is because, to quote a person that you and I know, Tony, grown man for video games, grown man gaming, this is a grown folks animated show.
Yes.
I mean, I'm okay with the other shows that come back, the nostalgia factor, but I want to watch stuff that I would watch as an adult. So that's why I put this at a higher tier than some of these other shows. I just want to make that comment.
I think it is controversial. Look at Dana's expression.
Were you shading it? You were shading the Men of the X.
Oh, well, I'm still a fan of X-Men.
You didn't even.
I was also a fan. I was also a fan of the TV show when I was a kid. So yeah.
No, you should watch the first 3 episodes because things pop off. The whole thing.
I'm going to watch the show, and again, respect to everybody that is a fan. But I'm just saying, as a grown man who has grown up, I'm 42 years old. I would like to see some stuff. Not so much from the childhood. I want to see something that is an adult oriented. I like the violence in this show, the cussing, all the other stuff. This is what I want to see now. I don't want to see the kiddie stuff. No.
Rich.
Yeah.
You're asking for something that you're gonna get fed in June, but not from an animated sense.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I don't know what you're talking about.
Is it Punisher?
In June.
The boys.
Oh yeah, there you go. You're
talking about from the animated sense, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, I guarantee you, the X-Men show is not going to give you. It's not going to give you what Invincible is going to give you at all. Like that brutality, but it's not the same. And if it does go that route, then it's not being true to itself because X-Men was not about that. You know,
that's true. Yep, that's a very good point.
Like you said, grown man animation. You know, and fuck X-Men '99. Anyway, what other things you guys want to? She muted herself. Anyway, Dana, any other little random things from this season that you liked?
I just like all of the side characters and the fact that they gave them story too. They're not just sitting around hanging in the dark. They're doing things. All of them have their own separate and personal lives that they're doing. So that is what I really love the most about this whole series. We have different characters and their different personalities, and then they all come in together and they balance the show very well. So that is just something that overall I truly appreciate. And again, with that comic, you talked about the comic, it felt very meta how he was explaining things. And that is just, the random little humor you would not even think about that they insert into the show. So I just appreciate all of it right now. But another thing, and I don't know whether or not you can answer this, is we had the adult other version of the Guardians with Adam and Adam, even all of them. Will we see more of that? Because that was like a completely different, obviously a different version, and I had so much interest in learning about them because when Eve came back, there was this huge like different maturity, and it felt like different life experience that they brought in. So do we get even like a little glimpse of interacting? Because they brought in all of the different dimensions. Are we going to stay that way?
I can't answer that. Because if I give you an answer one way, if I give you an answer one way or another, there is a definitive answer, but if I give it to you one way or another, it's gonna, I don't want to spoil anything. One way or another. So sorry about that.
So can I make a comment? I'm not going to ask this question. I'm just going to make this statement. I cannot wait to see what happened with Battle Beast from season 1.
Battle Beast, my man.
Oh yeah.
Yes, because this is the character that was looking for a fight. So I look forward to seeing when we see this character again and whether or not he's going to meet his match.
Yeah, sounds like a good guy to have against the Viltrumites. Just throwing that out there. Yeah. So Carlos, anything cool that stood out to you from these 4 episodes?
No, other than the fact that
we didn't already discuss.
Yeah, I just feel like we've discussed a lot of the stuff that this show is about. I do want to give a shout out to Dana because she brought a great point about the characters being more fleshed out. The side characters, not just the main ones. So every time we get to see someone new in the next couple of seasons, we're like, oh, Alan the Alien, I love that guy. Oh, this guy, or Immortal, or we get to get these characters, and they're not like just, who was that guy again? What did he do? It's like, no, like, the twins again, and we get the twins, like we already have established storylines with these characters, and they're more fleshed out. So yeah, wanted to give a shout out, and the great season. I feel like this is like, I don't know. I know nothing of what's going to happen in the next part of the story, but I feel like these first 2 seasons are sort of kind of like we're just getting started, and I feel like a lot of the juicy stuff of what this series brings is still to come.
Yeah, but like I've said this before. If this show follows the books, which it has so far, you guys haven't seen anything yet. You like this stuff. This shit is coming out. It's so good. This is why, Carlos, man, Riku-san, he bought all 3 compendiums. Like, I can't wait for the show. I got to read this now. But yeah, that's a good segue.
Going to read that in a night.
In a night, yeah, he bought the big books. But yeah, let's end this off like we always do. What are we looking forward to with season 3? Richard, why don't you start us off? What are you looking forward to seeing in season 3 of Invincible?
I'm looking forward to Omni-Man and Alan's epic escape from the prison, if they are able to get out of there. That's going to be a very interesting sequence. Obviously, why we got to wait till next season, but I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Dana, what are you looking forward to? It doesn't have to be one thing. You can just, bunch of
I'm
stuff.
afraid that if Omni-Man is released or it does escape, that the Viltrumite would just be like, screw it, and then destroy all of Earth. So that can go really sideways very quickly. But I am looking forward to Mark becoming finally his own man, and he's walking alone in this journey, it seems like. So him doing that I want to know what ends up happening now that he has his full strength, and he's kind of, in a way, he's regretting it, but will he have to pull that trigger again? So I'm looking forward to that. And also Oliver, does he contribute? I know he's a baby, but is there any underlying superpowers where he can do something except for cry and eat and poop?
All right. Carlos, what are you looking forward to? Season 3.
I'm looking forward to seeing why everyone hates Anissa.
Oh shit! Excuse me.
Yeah. Just looking forward to the story in general. I wonder if we're gonna get more of a Cecil introspective, because he's one of those characters. He's secretive for a reason, because we know that he's up to something. But I wonder if that is more fleshed out in the future seasons, in particular season 3. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Cool. As for me, I can't really answer this, but I will say this: the thing I'm looking forward to is that we don't have to wait so damn long. For the next one. It's like, please, can we get it in September or something, like, or January? I'll even be happy with that. Then we had to wait legit 2 years for this shit, didn't we? Like, it was crazy.
It was a minute.
It was a long time. I know COVID compresses time or whatever, but it was a long time. And it's like, what are we doing here? Dane, I see you like that. How long was it between seasons?
Oh, you mean between seasons? I thought you meant between part 1 and part 2.
No, I'm talking about between
3 months.
Season 1 and 2.
Oh,
it was like years.
Well, we had some things that was going on.
I would be okay waiting. 3 months would be fast if we get season 3 in 3 months. That'd be really fast. But I'm talking about we had to wait fucking 2 years.
It was more than 2 years. Season 1 aired March.
When did it end? Yeah, when did it end though?
It ended
2021.
April 30th, 2021.
April 30th, 2021, and then season 2 premiered.
And then season 2 premiered on November 3rd.
God damn! That's more than 2 years.
That was more than 2 years.
Oh no, we can't be waiting that long, man. We can't be waiting that long. Yeah, we'll see, man. But wait, I don't know if I ever said this on this podcast, but I'll say it again, because every podcast is everybody's new podcast. I have read every Invincible book except for the final one, because if I read that final one, then it'll really be over. So I'm waiting. The last 6 issues, man. I'm telling you, Invincible is very, very special to me. And Rich, you kind of brought up one of the reasons why, because it's like everything I love about superhero comics, but for adults. Because I read Invincible, like when Invincible started coming out in like the mid 2000s, right? I was 25. So that's when I started reading, like, this is the shit. It gave me the old feelings when I was a kid reading it, but brutal and fucked up. It's like combining the best aspects of like comic books, the superhero stuff of comic books and the adultness of anime. I was like, I love this shit. It's great. Although obviously the show, the animation ain't on the anime level, but it's good for American stuff. I'm glad they kind of toned down on the CG shit. That bothered me in season 1. There's still some of it, like those fucking fish out after the dude on the bike and stuff. I'm like, oh, there's CG fish, and then some of the CG stuff on the wooden doors, it moves when the doors open. Like, stop doing that. Just paint the doors. Stop using CG. But that's a personal thing. I just don't like CG stuff in my art. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us for yet another episode of Invincible Podcast. Hopefully, we will be able to do a full run of these when they come back. And again, hopefully, we don't have to wait that long for season 3. So I need that shit in my veins. Show is so good. See, literally the only TV show I watch. So I'm glad it's this one. It's giving me the good stuff. Don't watch X-Men. Don't watch that trash. Watch this. This is the real shit.
Watch X-Men.
So that's gonna do it for me. Do we have anything to plug before we go? Rich, what's going on with the Koalition, man? I think you guys may have something going on tonight, potentially.
Well, WrestleMania, it's WrestleMania season. Myself, Dana, and Danny, we actually recorded our WrestleMania predictions as a part of a discussion on WrestleCast. It's currently on this channel. It's also on the website. So if you are curious to hear what we think about the world of wrestling, I would encourage you to check that out. There are some other things that are in the works behind the scenes. I can't really speak too much about that yet, but stay tuned to the Koalition.
Good stuff. Dana, have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, WrestleMania stuff, as Richard already stated, and we have a lot of other situationships that are going down. We have a lot of other TV shows and movies that we have done interviews with, and we're working on. We're gonna probably later on do an episode about The Last Omen, which actually wasn't bad, and Civil War, which will be coming up in the upcoming weeks, and also The Challengers, which is that weird three-way movie with Zendaya. So check that out, and we'll have more wrestling content as well, because WrestleMania was a very big week for us. And just stay tuned to both the Koalition.com, the entertainment channel, and also we do BMF interviews over on the other YouTube channel. So we have stuff. Yay.
Good stuff. And of course, you can follow me and Carlos over on Throwdown Show. We are on I got an announcement. I don't know if people may know this. Richard Bailey Jr. is now also a permanent member of Throwdown. So you could catch off. Yeah, man. Shout out to you, Rich. It's been fun having you on. You bring a lot of not only knowledge, but a lot of fun jokes to the show. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's absolutely been fun, and there's a lot coming up with more games events. So we're definitely gonna have something to say about all this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you catch me, Rich, and Carlos over on Throwdown every Thursday and Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, talking about video games, all this drama that's going on, Stellar Blade, Sweet Baby Inc., all this craziness that's happening in the industry right now. We cover it all. And tomorrow's show is the question show, which is always fun. Fan questions. You guys get rowdy sometimes, but I like it, But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for joining us again. And again, hopefully we'll return soon with the greatest podcast on earth, the Invincible Spoiler Cast. We will see you guys around next time. Later.
Peace.